not my no.
Let it fly.
Let's get off my ass. All right, I'm gonna start recording this now.
All right.
All right, 3, 2. All right, Dave, I got a question. Oh, wait, Dave's not here because Dave does not like music. He's like Angela Martin on The Office. He just doesn't like the general sense of it. So I'm not joined by him today. Let's talk about the albums of the year. But I am joined by 4 people who know something about music and can make me look smart. Let me start with a recurrent guest of the program. She came on our Emo Bands Part 1, Part 2. She was also on our Top 10 Songs of the Decade for the 2010s. And that is my good friend, Olivia Peralt. Olivia, welcome in.
Hey, thanks, Jake, for having me always.
Of course. You were one of the first people that came to mind. And also, one of the first people that came to mind is our cigar compatriot, Mr. Ryan Gibbs, the music editor over the Folks. Ryan, what's up?
Howdy. It's been a minute since I've talked to you, Jake. How are you doing?
It has been a minute since you've been on the program, but it was a rip-roaring time when you and Olivia and I got together for the Songs of the Decade. It was a great time of ripping apart what Olivia said. But
Pretty much.
I'm sorry, when you put Imagine Dragons number 1, this is what's going to happen. Especially when you know you're going to be talking with Gibbs and you put Imagine Dragons number 1.
I didn't know until right beforehand that we had to put them in order.
It was like watching Gibbs' heart get ripped out in front of me. It was a beautiful thing. Not really beautiful, I was just kidding.
Thank you for the reminder.
Also joining us, my favorite siblings that I'm not related to, Steve and Vanessa Scott.
Yo. What is good? Thanks for having us once again.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to this for a long time, so this is exciting.
Yes. It's going to be a good time. So we're doing an Albums of the Year roundtable. We each have our top 10s. What we're going to do is we're going to go around the horn. I meant to do a randomizer beforehand, but since I'm an idiot, I just forgot to do it until now. To determine, it's not a draft order because we're not drafting anything, but in order to go around in, because I don't want to see like I'm playing favorites with anybody as much as I want to have Gibbs go first with everything. I just seem like I'm playing favorites. All right, let me just type all the names in here. Almost put Steve's name as Scott. That made no sense.
That's fine.
Not Scott.
I get it often.
Like Julia Gulia from The Wedding Singer. All right, and as luck would have it, fortune favors the bold. And Steve, you will be reading your lists first. Then Olivia, then Gibbs, then Vanessa. So it'll be a Scott wheel there.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to read off our 10 through 6 kind of rapid fire. Maybe talk about it for a few seconds. And then each of us will do that. Then we'll go 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, so on and so forth, till we get till our number 1. We'll do honorable mentions towards the end, so save that for in between 2 and 1. Without further ado, Steve, you will be doing your 10 through 6 first, so take us through it.
Whew. All right. Thank you. This is exciting, man. Let's go. All right. For number 10, this took me a while to figure out because I had, quite a few on the fringe right there that I listened to quite a bit. But the one I ended up choosing was Modus Vivendi by 070 Shake. Love that album.
Heard about this one. Yeah.
Dude, oh my God. Absolute classic to me. I'm pretty sure it was produced by Kanye, but I love that album, dude. She's soulful, a lot of raw emotions. I love that raw heartbreak kind of stuff. That that sadness. I love it, but also like some beautiful chords. Some favorite songs. I like "Guilty Conscious," "Under the Moon," and "Flight 319." 3 of my favorite songs off that. All right, number 9, I have Polo G, the GOAT. The first guy to ever tell me about Polo G was this dude at the gym. He's like, "Yo, you ever listen to that guy?" I'm like, "No." I listened to it, loved it. We're not friends anymore because he might be in jail now. Vanessa knows the guy. But however, that album, The GOAT, fantastic. He's got so much potential. I love it. And he's got a posthumous or whatever I don't know how to say that, post-death. There you go. Thanks. Appearance from Juice WRLD on there. And Flex, he has a song called D&D I love, Chinatown. And that's my number 9. All right, number 8 is the J Electronica, A Written Testimony. This album came out the same day as my number 1 album, which I'll get to later. And at that time, it was right during the lockdown. Like the prime, like today's the day that the world's going to shut down that day. Yeah. Like I think it was like March 15th. And this album literally felt to me like the world's going to end because I was waiting for this album to come out since I was a freshman in high school. And when it did, I was like, yo, this is weird. Love this album. Jay Electronica is like a mythical rap figure to me. It's like him and Jay-Z. It's almost like a Watch the Throne clone. Yeah, I love this album. Standout songs. I have The Blinding, Universal Soldier, Flux Capacitor. Jay Electronica, 40 years old. Love him. And yeah, great album. Number 7, Pop Smoke, Meet the Woo 2. Let's get this straight. I knew Pop Smoke for 8 days while he was alive. The album came out. I listened to that. I listened to the album at the gym, rocked out to it. The guy died, and I was like, oh, so like those days happened. I didn't really care. I'm like, yeah, whatever. That album was all right. And then he died. I listened to it way more, got into it way more. Everybody loved Pop Smoke, and I really enjoyed Pop Smoke. My dad likes him, so we listen to him at work. And Pop Smoke is my man. Love the album. Pop Smoke could have been, he had a lot of potential too. All right, number 6 is Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist Alfredo. It's probably an obvious pick for your boy, but yeah, Freddie Gibbs, total man rap. He's complete gangster. Some of the best production of the year to me. Overall, fantastic album. And a great follow-up to Bandana that came out in 2019, which is my number 1 album of last year. So yeah, that's my 10 through 6.
Quick note on Alfredo. That was my number 31 album this year.
Really?
It was. Yeah. I should also preface this with the fact that I listened to 217 albums this year.
Okay, not bad.
Wow.
31 is very good.
All right. I'm happy to hear that.
But I mean, I expected that lineup from you, Steve. There's a lot of albums you've talked about on Twitter and raved about, so I'm not surprised at all by that list.
Yeah, pretty much. My whole list here is albums that are pretty. I stayed true to form. I have a lot of albums that are, honorable mentions that I wish I could have had on here, but these are my true albums I listen to most and loved. So,
Olivia, your 10 through 6 is up next.
Yay, hopefully it won't get ripped apart this time.
Oh, there were no Imagine Dragons albums this year, so
Oh my god, you guys gotta let that go.
So
Okay. Someone I normally wouldn't have, but number 10 I have After Hours The Weekend.
Hey, all right.
Solid album. I don't know. I feel like I've been hearing Blinding Lights everywhere, but still a bop. Number 9, Tame Impala, Slow Rush. I feel like it's just a vibe, the whole album. What's the song? Borderline. I love it. Number 8, The Neighborhood, Chip Chrome and the Monotones.
Nice.
They can never make anything bad in my eyes. I just love them so much. And then I really like Stargazing, but I don't know if that's necessarily on the album, but it was on the deluxe. But I don't know. We could still count it, even though it came out like last week.
that's fine.
I know I'll probably get shit for this, but I put All Time Low on it. I know that's
Right.
I like that album a lot.
but it's so good. I love it so much. I got it tattooed on my wrist. So
Can we see it?
Oh, we have to listen to this album now. How about that?
and I showed them because I met them on a little virtual meet and greet. But I just feel like it was like the perfect time for it to come out because it came out, during quarantine, right in the summer, and it's called Wake Up Sunshine. So it's kind of just like wake up and figure out what you're doing with your life. If you haven't listened to it, there's so many good songs. Pretty Venom is probably one of my favorites. And number 6, I got Lady Gaga, Chromatica, if I'm saying that right.
Great album.
Yeah.
Rain on Me made my top 10 hits of the year. Fantastic song.
Yeah.
One of the all-time great, would have been awesome in the club songs, but
Oh yeah, but
yeah.
no clubs happening this year.
none of that shit was going down. All right, so that was Olivia's 10 through 6. My 10 through 6. My number 10. This was actually a late breaker. I kind of switched things around. My top 10. My top 10. Number 10 is "I Can Feel You Forgetting Me," which is by Neon Trees. I was not really expecting much from a new Neon Trees album. They hadn't released one in 6 years, so this one really took me by surprise. And it's a really good pop record. It's like a half an hour long. There's only 10 songs, and like more than half of them are pops. So this is a very good album. And I'm not like a huge Neon Trees fan, but I've liked them more with pretty much every album they've made. So good on them. My number 9 is RTJ4 by Run the Jewels.
All right.
Fantastic record. Another one that's really short, but I believe it was supposed to come out later than it came out. Then they dropped it early and for free. And I ripped right into it as soon as I could. It is a great album. A lot of great lines that I really wish I could quote here, but I cannot.
I understand.
I'm not going to do that. My number 8 is an album that I'm sure is going to be discussed a little bit later on, which is Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen One by Kid Cudi. An album that really spoke to me, coming from a place of anxiety and depression. And I'll say about that for now because I know it's going to come up later. Number 7 for me is Eternal Take by Lil Uzi Vert. Another great album. This one came out really early in the year. And I'm not huge on like hour-plus long albums, but this one knocked it out of the park. And Gibbs will know what I'm talking about when I say it had my Todd in the Shadows favorite 2 seconds of any song of the year, which is the fact that Lil Uzi Vert made a Blue Eyes White Dragon reference in the song. And it's a Blink If You'll Miss It reference, and it's one of the best of the year. And number 6 for me is one that'll probably come up later too, at least in somebody's 10 through 6, maybe they're number 5 through 1, is Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, which is one of the best pop records of the year and really solidifies her as somebody you have to pay attention to every time something drops, like a Taylor Swift or the artist I'll be talking about number 5, so I'll tease that. But she is a bona fide superstar, and she's going to be one for many, many years to come. Future Nostalgia is an incredible album. It is one of the most appropriately named albums of the year too, because it sounds just like the album title. It's really like song and sound from the 70s and the 80s, but it sounds like it's set like 500 years in the future. So I absolutely love this album. I mean, Levitating would have been my number 1 hit of the year if it made the year-end chart, but it did not. Don't Start Now was definitely high. Cool, Break My Heart. So many great songs on the album. So that's my 10 through 6. And the next person up is Mr. Gibbs.
All right. So my number 10 is Ohms by Deftones. I've been a fan of the Deftones since middle school, which was way too long ago. And they've never put an out-and-out bad album in my eyes. They've always been one of the best groups in terms of consistency in the metal genre. And this one is maybe one of my favorites that they've put out. I feel that it's a strong, heavy rock album, and it's their heaviest in a while. And I really love the title track. I really love the song Error on there. It's just a really good, heavy rock album. It came out at the end of a really bad week in late September. And I remember I couldn't wait until the end of the week because there was going to be new Deftones. And it was really something to look forward to, and it really paid off. Number 9 is Inlet, which is the 3rd album by the band Hum. They broke up like 20 years ago, and this was a surprise comeback album. They did a couple reunion shows, and they've been working on this album for years, and it finally came out. This kind of picks up where they left off in, I forget when the last album came out, like 2000. It is a really good, heavy alternative record. It's a bit of their 90s space rock style, but it's not a retread of what they did before. They're not resting on their laurels. It's a very impressive cohesiveness as a unit after such a long time away. And I just was really blown away by how great this record was. Number 8 is another kind of 90s rock style record, but this time it's a debut. It's Things I Never Said, which is by the New York City singer-songwriter Oceanator. This is a really good guitar album, very solid songwriting. She's really good with melody and verse structure. I really love the song A Crack in the World. This is one of the things that I picked up during a Bandcamp Friday over the course of the year, and I've gone back to it more than anything I bought off Bandcamp this year. Number 7 is an album I bet's going to come up in somebody's list. It's Taylor Swift's Folklore.
Hey.
I've always liked Taylor Swift. I've always admired her as a lyricist, and this is a good showcase as any for her lyrics. It's a very spare record that really puts the focus on her voice and her lyrics. It's also full of great deep album cuts. I really love Mirror Ball and the Betty trilogy, especially August. I love The Last Great American Dynasty as a Rhode Islander.
She was playing that audience for sure. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
And the Disney Plus
she had to get that Ocean State contingent behind her.
And then
swim to her house. Sorry.
Number 6, I bet this is going to surprise Jake that it's only number 6. This is where Fish's new album, Sigma Oasis, shows up.
Number 6. I thought that would be above number 1.
This was a weird year to be a Fish fan. There was no summer or fall tour for the first time in like 10 years. But if you followed them, there was a whole bunch of stuff this year. They did live streams of classic concerts. They released a whole bunch of archival stuff. There was like a side project release every month. And to top it all off for this year, they put out their best studio album in 20 years. Fish is not well known for their studio albums. They put out some great studio albums, but they're of course better known for their live shows and their live albums. And the thing about Sigma Oasis is that it kind of feels like a live album, and that there's a bunch of jams on here. It kind of shows you how they structure and how they improvise after the end of the song to create their jams. There's a good version of the song Mercury, which they've been playing for years and years, like a lot of the songs on this record. And I feel like they've really captured the power of that song live in a studio format in a way that they haven't done in many years. It was just a real good joy to hear the band pick up where they left off in the last couple years, which have been really good for them touring wise, with a studio record that kind of caps off this era. And I'm really interested to see what they do with these songs next. Again, even though they've been playing them for years.
Yeah,
and that's my 10 through 6.
I did listen to Sigma Oasis on your recommendation. I'm not like a big Fish fan, but I did like it. And I liked your review a lot. It really captured it very well. And I know you said that they're not really known for studio albums, but it's a pretty good one. It's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so Vanessa, you're rounding us off here.
All right. So, like Olivia, my top 10 is The Weeknd After Hours. I'm a huge The Weeknd fan, and I thought that was just a piece of art, that whole thing. I think my favorite song off that album is probably one of the bonus tracks, Nothing Compares. So you heard that deluxe version.
Yep.
Oh, so good. But yeah, there's just so many good songs on there, and even After Hours itself, like that song, like with the change up of the beats and stuff. Number 9 is the 1975 Notes on a Conditional Form. There's so many good songs off that album. I don't know if I should have probably rated it a little bit lower, but that's where it hit on my list. But oh my God, I don't even know what to say about that one. Like, they're all great. All the songs are great.
I'll have plenty to say about
I'm
it later.
sure Jake will have to say about
I'll
We'll
wait.
talk about it more later.
I don't
then.
want to spoil anything. I'll wait.
There's just other ones I had to put. You know how it is. It's so hard to rank any ones, right?
I have people I know that didn't like the album at all, so I'll take this over that.
Oh, not I.
Yeah, I know.
I've always so I think I just
I need to shout out Peter. I need to shout out Peter Grove real quick for saying that his favorite album of the year was the Hybrid Theory 20th Anniversary Edition.
Yeah, Pete's in the chat right now, Vanessa.
I like that. That's good. That's
really?
good.
Where is that?
The YouTube chat.
On YouTube. Oh, I see it. How about that?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you're number 8.
I'm also a Linkin Park fan. So, and yeah, guilty pleasure, I guess. But
Absolutely.
Ty Dolla $ign, the featuring Ty Dolla $ign album.
Awesome.
Even just that album cover was dope with him like blowing up the smoke and it's just such a vibe. Favorite song off that one's probably like Powder Blue, which is hilarious because it's like, I don't know if you've heard it, but it's like Porsche's Powder Blue. Like it's just I love that song. It's just like a good, like, if we could dance, it would be a good dance song. 7, Machine Gun Kelly, Tickets to My Downfall. That album, I liked basically every song at like different points. Since it's come out, like I'll have like a different song that's my favorite of the week. I feel like I've listened to it just like obsessively, and it kind of gives me like the Blink-182 vibes that I've been needing for a very long time, and feeling that like punk, like I needed that. And I think that goes with my number 6 too, which I guess is pop technically, but Miley Cyrus's Plastic Hearts, which was just an incredible album. And the only reason she beat out Machine Gun Kelly for me is because there's like the songs that she released are, I think, a little bit maybe higher quality than like Machine Gun Kelly's is like quantity, and then hers is quality. Like there's certain songs on that album that you're like, wow, that's just a great song. Like, so if you haven't heard it, High is probably my favorite off that album. Even like Golden G Strings, like it's just good. Like it's just all good.
Great name.
Yeah, that's my top 6.
It is. I think it's better than MGK. Also, I liked them both, but I think Miley's is definitely at least a little bit above.
Okay, cool. Because I didn't know like if I picked that right, but I think I did.
No, I like Plastic Hearts. A friend of mine who might be watching right now has it pretty much as high as you do on her list. She really loved it. I liked it a lot. But yeah, so that's a good 10 through 6. So Steve, you are back up with your number 5.
Okay. And you want me to elaborate on this one a little bit here?
You can elaborate a little bit more than with our 10 through 6. Yep.
All right. Number 5 has already been mentioned. It is the 1975's Notes on a Conditional Form.
I'm gonna go ahead and punt my my commentary on this one.
Bro, I just want to say,
good.
I wish this album came out in a pandemic-less year. Every single time a 1975 album comes out, at least in my little world, there's been a catastrophe going on. Like there's a pandemic this time. Last time, the last album, which I think was the best album ever, that they put out. I had pneumonia. I was like in the hospital dying like when that album came out. And but you know what the thing is though? I listened to that album, felt great. I was like, you know what, man? It's all good. If I die, peace. Because that album was so good.
Matty Healy cures every ail.
Matty Healy cured me, dude. I love that album. And the thing about that too, it was like it was so many genres. It comes out, he's screaming and like people, and then next thing you know, it's like he's like singing like a folk song, and you have like an interlude, like music for cars. Mm-hmm. Then you got like it's like the techno kind of shit. You got like a full Lady Gaga, like the Roadkill song, like like how he's like singing
that one.
Yeah,
like there's country songs on the record.
Yeah,
there's dance. There's introspective as usual.
Exactly.
I like. There's no song. I know it's not on this album, but there's no song that makes me fall into a void more than "Love It If We Made It" by the 1975.
Yeah.
I just start like my eyes just like sink into my head like I'm in the end. It's just wild shit. But yeah, this album, like I've said this to Gibbs. I think I said it to you, Steve, but it absolutely rips my heart out to know that the 1975 Phoebe Bridgers and Biba Doobie were supposed to tour together this year.
I know.
Wow. We don't get to see that.
Wow.
And all three of them put out great albums this year. I'll touch on Biba Doobie a little bit later in the honorable mentions, but this, it's just horrible. And this album got delayed twice, if I'm not mistaken. It was supposed to come out in February, then it was supposed to come out in April, and it finally came out in May. And it just, I mean, spoiler, it blew me away. This is an incredible.
It feels like a record that we've been waiting for longer than that, even though, because they've been putting out singles for almost a year off of it.
Yeah, right. People came out, oh my God, that was so many months ago.
I love that song.
People grew on me. I didn't like it at first. Then they released Frail State of Mind, and I was like, all right, well, now we're in it. I was like, all right, now this is the 1975. I remember that came out right before I ran my half marathon in October of last year. So they've been releasing singles for like, before the album came out, what was it, like that's 8 or 9 months. So they were building up the hype to it, and they released a lot of singles. And there's one in particular that I'm sure I'll be talking about in depth later on. But that's a great pick, Steve.
Thank you.
I endorse that one for sure.
I want to say, though, real quick, my favorite song off that album is Nothing Revealed, Everything Denied.
Great song.
That's my favorite song. It might be probably top 3 of my favorite songs of the year.
Yeah, that's a great song. I mean, there's so many. I'm such a stan, though, so like I can't really – I mean, there's another artist coming up that I can't really objectively look at because I'm just such a stan of this person. But I'm sure Steve knows, and pretty much everybody here probably knows where I'm going. But anyway, next up is Olivia's number 5.
So my number 5 is the Used Heartwork.
Oh yeah.
Had to put some emo on my list, I just love how there's like so many good features on this album. Like we've got Mark Hoppus. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Hoppus.
No, you're right.
Caleb Shomo from Beartooth, who I freaking love him. So I just feel like, I don't know, this went back to like old school The Used, which emo just was thriving in 2020. So I guess that was the one good thing of the year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what other genre was there to tap into?
Yeah, definitely. So I would check it out. The title track, Wow, I Hate This Song, The Lottery. Definitely some good hits on this one.
I remember I texted you and I was listening to this album, Olivia, and I was like, I like this album a lot, but there's one song on there where he like whispers the whole time, and I'm like, I hate this entire experience. It was like a minute long, and all he does is like whisper, but husky whisper, and I'm like, I just despise whatever this is.
Yeah, I didn't get that, but sometimes it's a hit or miss.
But okay, before we move on, Mark Hoppus is not the Aliens one. That's Tom
Yes, he
DeLonge.
is.
Or is it?
That's Tom DeLonge. Yes, he's the
Oh,
alien.
I thought Tom DeLonge was the Aliens one. That's what I thought, because I always get him and Mark Hoppus mixed up. Naturally,
what's Mark Hoppus do then? He's got something, right?
He's still in Blink-182.
Yeah, he's still in
Tom
Blink.
DeLonge left to go find Area 51 or something. I don't know what these days, but I know that pick. I reviewed it pretty positively. I'm not sure where it ranks on my list. I had a lot of albums that kind of mishmashed together, in like the top echelon here. But it's a really good album. I like it. And among emo albums this year, it's good. And also shout out Jake Ruthier. Gavin Dance album. I think it was Afterburner. Very good too. It's a good one.
And Knuckle Puck almost made it, but it's an honorable mention. So
Shout out Knuckle Puck's Earthquake. That is not Earthquake. What was it? Was it Earthquake? No, what's it called? I forget.
I can't even.
Earthquake. It's on my list somewhere. It was. Oh, come on, son of a bitch. Head on. Oh, it's 2020, like 2020 vision. But good album, very good album nevertheless. All right, so it is my turn to go to number 5. So when I talked earlier about artists that for me, thank you, Jake. Yes, Earthquake is such a great song. Jake Ruthier, shout out. So this is an artist I was referring to earlier, like not Taylor Swift or Dua Lipa levels of famous, but there are a few artists that when they drop music for me, like it's a moment, and all 3 of these artists are going to get mentioned on this podcast. And this is the first one, and that is Dedicated Side B by Carly Rae Jepsen, which her B-sides are better than most artists' A-sides. She is a phenomenal songwriter, and I've written this before. I will write this again, and I will say it as much as I can. It absolutely confounds me that she's not a bigger star than she is.
Yeah.
She is such a phenomenal songwriter. Like, it's not hyperbole when Todd in the Shadows said that Run Away With Me is one of the best pop songs he's ever heard. It is
I like that song. I actually like that one too.
Emotion was, I think, my number 3 song of, not number 3 album of the decade in the 2010s, behind only Blonde and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
It was my number 1 of the entire decade.
Yeah,
No way.
it's pretty flawless, that album. It's one of the best pop records I've ever heard. Like, it is unbelievable.
I'll listen then. Damn, I didn't
And
realize.
then
I have to listen to it.
Then she comes out with Dedicated in 2019, which was that 4 years after Emotion, I believe. And she was like, here's some other good music. And then she was like, I'm going to drop my side Bs. I know side Cs aren't a thing, but like I would love it if they were, because I would just love to hear more from her every single day. Like if she dropped a song every single day, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Because if you remember, Cut to the Feeling, which is a perfect pop song, didn't make either Emotion or Emotion side B. She gave it to some movie that no one remembers.
Some like Canadian ballerina movie called Leap. All I remember is that because I was in like the Spotify Genius annotation about it. But yeah, it's what happened. But she, I think the stat was she wrote like 200 songs for Emotion, and obviously only, what was it, like 14 made the initial cut, and then she released 10 B-sides. So that's like barely over.
And then there was a deluxe edition.
Yeah. So she had so many on the back burner. And just to think of like what doesn't make the cut for Carly Rae Jepsen is probably what would put a lot of the albums I have in the middle of the pack on my list over the top. She's such a good, I just can't emphasize enough how incredible she is at her craft and how unrecognized she is. She was saved from being a one-hit wonder by Owl City. Let's just remember that for a second. Owl City was what saved her from being a one-hit wonder. Owl City.
Remember Owl City?
They're good.
Shout out
my high school executive committee for shooting me down when I wanted Fireflies played at our dance. Great song.
It's a bop. It's still a bop.
It was kind of like overplayed at that point, though. Like,
no, it was like, this is completely off track, but I think the most overplayed song of all time is "You Somebody" by Kings of Leon.
Yes.
Oh my
I
god.
still think like I still put it on and like I've heard this song enough. It's been like 12 years since it came out.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. I'm sorry, but yeah. Anyway, that's my number 5, and I'm sticking to it. Gibbs, what is your number 5?
Well, I'll have more to say about a couple of the records that have been talked about coming up, but my number 5 is Songs for Our Daughter by Laura Marling. I have been following Laura Marling's career since she started in the folk pop band Noah and the Whale, who weren't very good, but she was like very clearly the star of that group. And she came out with a record like the year she left the band that was really amazing in terms of songwriting from somebody who was so young. And she's released like 7 albums since then, and they're all consistently really great in terms of the songwriting, in terms of how she does turns of phrase, in terms of how she does verses. I really like this record. Laura Marling is almost never not in my top 10, and I think this is one of her strongest albums to date as a songwriter and as a performer and as a guitarist. The songs Held Down and Only the Strong both made my top 100 songs list. I made a whole top 100.
Sweet.
And yeah, this is just a really strong record by an artist that just constantly makes really strong records. There's not a whole lot I can say about it other than it's just another great album from an artist that always makes great albums.
I would like to reiterate that I listened to well over 200 albums this year, and Gibbs, half of his list I have never even heard of.
I have a lot of jazz on it, yeah.
Show you this guy. But that's, I mean, I'm going to trust you and say it's a good pick, knowing nothing about the artist of the album. Just knowing you, I'm going to say.
Oh my goodness, go listen to some Laura Marling. She's, like I said, she's put out like 7 albums that are just all really, really great.
This is jazz?
She's a folk musician.
Okay, I was going to say, because if it's jazz, I've seen La La Land. Thank you very much. I know.
That's all you need to know about jazz.
Oscar winning for 5 seconds, La La Land.
Yeah.
Emily and I loved that movie, right, Emily? Yeah, she's not saying yes.
Come on.
She hated it.
Yeah, that is my number 5 is Laura Marling.
The La La Land soundtrack, number 5 for Gibbs. All right, Vanessa, you are back up.
All right. So for my number 5, I picked Jhené Aiko's Chilumbo, R&B. My favorite songs off that one would be Triggered and None of Your Concern, 10,000 Hours. I think those were like probably my favorites off of it. She also had like some good features on there. Nas is on it. Future, Miguel, all artists I really enjoy. And Big Sean's on there at one point, and he has his verse, of course, because they have like their ongoing relationship, which is kind of cool how they like mix it in with their music. Yep, I'm fangirling a little bit on that. And also too with that album, I know it's like she like incorporated different sounds from like one of those like Tibetan bowls, and it's supposed to be all about like your auras and your chakras, and it has all like that kind of like cool stuff included in it, which you can like kind of hear throughout it, and I really enjoyed the album. That's all I have to say about it.
Jhené Aiko, and she's a part of one of my 3 like what if they were together relationships with her and Gambino. I always thought they'd make a great couple, except for the fact that
he's I can imagine.
That'd be so perfect.
Shout out Pink Toes off of Because of the Internet, an album that I went against the grain and put in my top 10 albums of the decade because I couldn't in good conscience put Camp there because I was good. Can't say any of the lyrics from Camp, so I had to go with Because of the Internet instead. The last album I bought on a physical copy was Because of the Internet.
I don't remember what mine even was.
Oh God, I think it was Because of the Internet. Unless, I mean, if you're not counting records, I shout out my parents if they're watching this. I just found it funny when I asked for a record player a couple of years ago. They got me Rumors and A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which are my 2 favorite albums of all time. They also got me. They know I love The Who, so they got me the album It's Hard, which is the first album after Keith Moon died. So I was like, this is great. I was like, why couldn't it be
Everyone's favorite Who album?
Couldn't it be like Who's Next or Tommy or like any of the anyway? But that's completely off the beaten path for no reason.
I think my first final, now that I think about it, is Hybrid Theory.
Oh,
I'm just gonna screw it and just rename it.
I can pull it up right now.
Linkin Park Pod. I'm just gonna rename it the Linkin Park Pod.
I think it's unopened though, so but it is.
Jake Ruth here, Because the Internet is also better overall than Camp. Some people may say that. I don't agree with that theory. And I can tell you who also doesn't agree with that theory, and that is Pitchfork, who famously savaged Camp many years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was like a 1.4.
What? Like that.
Yeah,
Pitchfork.
They didn't know how to really talk about Gambino at that point, I guess. Anyway, I'll save the Gambino chat for a little bit further down the road. Steve, it's back to you for your number 4.
Number 4. Okay, hold on. All right, number 4. I have Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon 3. This album just came out, and I don't care. But if I had a full year with this album, it'd probably be number 1. People think that Kid Cudi, they haven't listened to Kid Cudi in a while. They thought he fell off. He's been here the whole time. I love the artwork on the album. First of all, the first time I heard "She Knows This," I put it up so loud I thought my speaker was gonna break, and that was just like the first listen. I'm like, oh, like that first few seconds, I'm like, she knows this. Fucking cranked it up. It was unbelievable. Oh, my face was melting off. I love that song so much. Some bangers on this album. And then he's got the soothing voice going. He's got he's back gliding over some songs. He's got the hums. He's back giving you the lyrics, of the old, of getting you through things. I love this album. I gotta say, some of the best production he's ever had. He's got, my favorite songs probably, it's definitely She Knows This. I love Solo Dolo 3, The Void, Pale Moonlight, and I like Rockstar Nights, including my boy Trippie Redd, who Vanessa and I saw this year in concert prior to COVID.
Honestly,
This year.
Yep.
I felt like I was low key worshiping the devil or something, like, and not like signing up for it. When you're like at a concert like that, you're like, is this why I'm gonna go to hell? Like
that's how I felt seeing. Never mind. I'm gonna bite my tongue on
you're talking about Kanye West because
No.
That was bad too.
Kanye West.
That.
No. I was going to make a joke about seeing Hunter Hayes 4 times, but
Okay.
hey, Hunter Hayes has some bangers. I don't want to hear it. All right.
I don't even know Hunter Hayes songs.
He's the one that sings that song. I don't want crazy, or I want crazy.
That was I want. Yeah, he's the I want. Crazy
I saw that on the Bachelorette or the Bachelor.
Yeah, he released a decent album. Then he took many years off because he couldn't make music. I think he was just having like writer's block or something. And he came out with like an album, and it wasn't very good, and we haven't heard from him since. So that's the saga of Hunter Hayes, who did not appear on this list on any of them.
Don't push it. You don't know.
I don't think he did. I mean, there's still 9 days left in the year, so maybe in these next 9 days, Hunter Hayes will drop an album. But I like that pick, Steve. I also like Another Day, and I love "Lovin' Me" by him and
I love Lovin' Me.
The collab there. It's a very short song, but a very, very good song, good message. And yeah, this is just the kind of the MO for Cudi. I mean, he's always going to deliver, seemingly. I mean, I should be more familiar with this overall catalog, but I listened to this album and absolutely loved it. Obviously, it made my top 10, so it was number 8, and it was a late breaker. I had 215 as my number. I was like, great, nice, solid number. Then Evermore and this came out. I was like, all right, well, got to listen to this. Yep. So I did. Cudi had priority though, and then I listened to more after that. Very good. Evermore might get mentioned later, but not as part of my top 5. But anyway, solid pick. Who is next? It's Olivia, I believe, who's up next. You're number 4, Olivia. If you can hear me. You're muted. You are muted. You're muted.
Sorry. I was saying to Jake how hot take that I would put All Time Low as in the top. I would have put them as number 1, but since they're my favorite band, I feel like biased, so I didn't.
It's all about bias.
Music is the most subjective thing in the world.
Yeah.
I
know we know the truth.
I don't know.
But
yeah.
Well, they should be my number 1, but whatever.
Anyway, number 4.
So number 4, I did Paris, Use Me. I don't know if you guys listened to Paris, but they're like, I don't know. It was like a total like turn for the band, I feel like. They're definitely more on like the whole like pop punk emo-ish vibe. Songs Give Me a Minute and Hallucinations are really good. I don't know. It's totally all about like moving on and getting through things. And I feel like that is the vibe for 2020 as well. So it came out later in the year and it's only like their 3rd album, but I feel like it was like a total switch up. So I'm into it.
Can't say I've ever heard of the band, but again, I trust your judgment
like
on that one.
Paris, but with like a V.
Oh wait, no, I have heard of this. I've heard of that artist.
That's how you pronounce it?
The V.
Yeah.
I thought it was Purist this whole time.
I'm pretty sure it's Paris.
You're probably right. right about that. I'm definitely wrong. That's why I've never said the name out loud, because I don't want to be wrong about it. Maybe Jake Ruthier can weigh in. Maybe he knows too. Jake, listen to Paris or Purus or Pavirus, however now.
He's saying yeah.
Hivris.
Yes.
Okay, that's not helping.
Have you?
It doesn't help. We need a phonetic pronunciation here. Even though I trust Olivia, I think she's right. So yeah, that's a pick that I trust. I mean, there's going to be ones that I haven't heard of. Can't listen to everything, but I like it.
Check them out.
What was it? Check them out.
Check them out. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. There's been a recommendation. Gives the was it Sawayama? Is that the album?
Yeah.
That my friend's been getting on me to listen to that, and I just haven't had a chance yet. And I've heard it's very good, but we'll see. Anyway, my number 4. Okay. Jake says it's Paris, so Olivia and Jake both weigh in. It's decisive. It's Paris.
Steve or not?
Yeah, it's me.
What happened? Oh, coolest dude ever. Yeah, it's Steve.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna name a band Rome, but I'm gonna replace the O with a V and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 4 is Imploding the Mirage by the Killers.
Ooh.
This was a surprising album for me because I liked the singles. I liked Caution. That was a good song. They didn't really release a lot of singles off this album. But Caution was a very good one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Dying Breed was a single, or My God, one of them. But it's pretty old school Killers. I mean, it's like anthem arena rock. That's what made them great and what made them famous. Like, that's why you see a lot of these like hot takes going around the internet where people are like, When You Were Young is a better song than Mr. Brightside, which is like absurd. It's a great song still. That's fine if you want it to be a great song because it is such a soaring, enormous song. But it's like one of those songs that when I heard them play it live a couple of years ago, like it melts your face off. It's incredible. But this album kind of gets back to those roots. And it's not terribly long, but it has enough of that old Killer sound to really drag you in. And I'm kind of a sucker for the Killers. I love them. But it's ironic because I really didn't like, I think it was Battleborn. And then, oh my God, help me out. What was the most recent one? The one with the clamshell? What was that one? The cone shell. What was that called?
I
Kind of making my own point here.
I know you're talking about, but I can't even.
I know the album, yeah.
know what you're talking about, but
Yeah, it's, oh my God, dude. It's going to absolutely bug me. But
it's called Wonderful, Wonderful.
thank you. Wonderful, wonderful.
I hated the album.
And it was average.
Feel that.
But yeah, so it's fine. I mean, it exists as an album. It's okay. But that and Battleborn, not great. And when you're talking about a band that had a classic with Hot Fuss, a surprisingly polarizing album in Sam's Town, which I love, but apparently people don't. And then they come back with this, which kind of just taps into those roots. I really, really enjoyed Imploding the Mirage. And if you're in any way a fan of the Killers, I recommend you listen to it yesterday.
That is my number 4 as well. Not to
Wow. What are the odds?
not to cut though. I'll talk about it later.
I mean, if it's your number 4, you might as well talk about it now.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Are you sure, Gibbs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a gentleman.
Like, I just remember like when I heard Caution, I was walking, I think it was in March, and I was like going for a walk, and I literally like bursted out crying because I felt like it, like this was like everything I needed to hear in the moment. And that doesn't typically happen for me with stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, like, and like you said, it just has like that old school, the Killers vibe. And it was just bringing back like all of that for me. I feel like, I'm going to say later too, like spoiler alert, Kid Cudi's on my top 3. So like, I feel like that's like one part of my soul, and like the Killers is like the other side of it. Other songs like from that one too, that I really liked was like Running Towards a Place. And I liked Fire and Bone too, and When the Dreams Run Dry too. It was a great album. Yeah. So just adding on to what your whole thing was.
It's great top to bottom. It's like the big arena rock stuff really happens there. I love My God might be my favorite song on the album. That's a feature from Ways Blood, which is a very good feature.
I like that too.
It's really, I really don't have any issues with any songs on the album. It's not perfect by any stretch, but it's not their best album either. But I would probably put it top 3. I mean, I don't know if anything's ever going to touch Hot Fuss or even Sam's Town for me, but Hot Fuss is pretty much the consensus best Killers album. It's not going to get touched by this, but this is still a great album in my opinion.
I think too. Like, I think I do like When We Were Young better than Mr. Brightside. Maybe it's because Mr. Brightside's so overplayed now or whatever, and it's become like a bar anthem. So I don't know. Maybe if I was younger, I wouldn't have said that if it wasn't so overplayed now, and it's like turned into something else. But
not on my page, and I've been doing just fine.
Yeah.
I do love When You Were Young, though. That was one of those songs I used to jam out to on Guitar Hero 3.
I was gonna say.
That was a big one because then the solo would come and you'd like just start twirling the strum bar and it's good.
That was like a big like shower song for me, like to just like any song that you play in the shower, it's like you got to rock out too. Oh, yeah. So
somehow Steve is now in the chat talking about Quinn Cook. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Shout out Quinn Cook. I know you're not listening because you're probably playing a basketball game right now. But
getting a ring.
So Gibbs, we leapfrogged you there. What's your number 4?
All right, my number 4. This is where the 1975's Notes on a Conditional Form shows up on my list. So my favorite thing about the 1975 is how they love to dig up like obscure alternative rock subgenres and make them their own, particularly stuff that was before grunge and Britpop kind of took over the genre. They do this on their previous records with stuff like Sophistopop and late new wave, and this time they kind of go with stuff like shoegazing on Then Because She Goes and Jangle Pop on Me and You Together song, and the crowning jewel of this record to me is If You're Too Shy Let Me Know, which is just a perfect song. I love the way that they like have this really 80s sound about very modern technology and issues, and that's one of the things that they do really well. I really like Matty Healy's personality on this record because he just subsumes this record. It is really his show, and he always and well, the thing is that he ends the record with Guys, which is a tribute to the other members of the 1975. He wants to make this really clear that the 1975 is not just Matty Healy, that it's the other members of the band have artistic input too, and I kind of love that little touch at the end of the record. I don't like this album as much as I did their previous 2 records, which I think are more or less perfect, but this is well worth the long wait for this record. I thought that it was a really good showcase of how many genres and how many styles the band can do. And it was a really good record for 2020. I just sure wish that, concerts were a thing that could happen this year. Because like you said, they were going to tour with Phoebe Bridgers and Biba Doobie. And they were going to play Boston Calling. And none of that happened. Maybe next year. But yeah,
if I heard this song live, I would have transcended into a different plane of existence. But I agree with pretty much everything you said there, Gibbs. I will have more to say about this album later. But if I was ranking their albums, if I forgot to do it later, I'm so torn between this and Inquiry. I still think Inquiry is a better album overall. I would put this ahead of I Like It When You Sleep. Just barely, and then their debut album is by default the 4th one, but it's still a good album. It is ironic that maybe their most well-known mainstream song is Still Chocolate, which is off of that album. And I say mainstream lightly because they are not really well-known over here, especially on the charts. They just they aren't really that well-known now. Not really. Unfortunately, no. I wish. Trust me, I wish they were well-known here. I'd be their number 1 fan. Well, I already kind of am, but still. But yeah, because it's pretty much between If You're Too Shy and It's Not Living If It's Not With You for their best song for me. I love It's Not Living If It's Not With You. That song
that was my most played song 2 years. It's been my most played song.
I think it was my second most played song this year, other than If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. My top 4 songs this year were all 1975, which is not a surprise. But again, I'll have more to say about them in a bit. Steve, it is back to you for your number 3.
Well, my number 3 had all of my entire top 10 most played songs was off this album, but it's my number 3 album. How about that? And it is Juice WRLD, Legends Never Die.
I knew that was coming at some point.
Yep.
I'm surprised it's not number 1, frankly.
No, I know. I think it's fantastic, but I just can't give it to him. There's 2 others that just took the cake for me. But it's unbelievable to me how many unreleased bangers he had. And he continues to have. I think that this is one of many. He'll put out. I mean, his state will put out more. Fantastic, follow up to his Death Race for Love, which I thought was a fantastic album last year. But yeah, this is the rare, post-death album that was done right. Some songs usually are, tacked on or fabricated, but not this album. He's the man. Highlights on this album I love were Wishing Well, Can't Die, I like Hate the Other Side, Come and Go. I put this album on all the time, listen to it all the time. I love this album so much.
Yeah, when I ranked my top 10 hits of the year, Wishing Well came in at number 8. It's a great song. Juice WRLD is, like we touched on earlier, it's just sad how many rappers there are who, even though Mac Miller was a little bit older than Juice WRLD and Pop Smoke, like how many of them have been lost in the past year and how much more they had left to give. And Juice WRLD, this album is great. I really liked it a lot. I wasn't familiar too much with his other stuff. Like I knew Lucid Dreams, obviously, but then I listened to this. Also, first of all, great artwork on the album. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
And Wishing Well, I think, is the standout song, but there are a lot of great ones too. It's very, very good. I
think that Juice WRLD, when I think of Juice WRLD, I think of all the rappers that have died in the last, 4 or 5 years. There's, many great ones, or some people don't think some are that good. I think Juice WRLD, out of all of them, had the most potential. I think he could have been, I think he truly could have been like top of the pop rap, like a Travis Scott type, like where everyone really, everyone defaults to loving him and all the dudes love him. You know what I mean? Like I thought Juice WRLD was on that trajectory. I still believe it, and I think he could have been one of the best ever. That's a take I will keep for a while.
What's our temperature on Travis Scott? What do you think of Travis Scott?
I love Travis Scott. I don't even care. I love him.
Astroworld.
We're in Astroworld. We saw him on tour last year. It was pretty sweet.
All right. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with Travis Scott. I don't really have many strong feelings either way. Like I don't feel the same way about him as I do Drake. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I know. There's a big difference between the two, in my opinion. I like Travis Scott. I know he went I know he's like so mainstream, but at the same time, like his music fucking is dope. I don't even care. I love it.
Like that concert gave me major anxiety, but probably just because of the venue being so big and. I don't know. It's like it was weird seeing him in concert. I'd say, like in comparison to other people I've seen, like he didn't really like connect with the audience in the same way. Like it was kind of like I don't know, like not very genuine. I guess what I mean?
Yeah.
And like there was like a lot of gimmicks. Like there was like a roller coaster in the sky.
Yeah,
and,
wasn't it a whole carnival themed? Like
yeah, it was a carnival theme, and like people like paid a lot of money, and they could like go and do like things like jumping off the stage. I'm just not into that whole thing. So yeah, that part I'm not into, but I do like his music and I like his beats, and like I made a dance when I was in my senior year of college to one of his songs for like a hip hop piece. Like, so I am a big fan. I like it, but obviously I'm a big fan. But
yeah, I remember a lot of the dance like there was a dance craze every year that I was in college. Like there was, I think Gangnam Style was my freshman year. Harlem Shake was my sophomore year. I think Black Beatles was my senior year, actually. I actually kind of like Black Beatles, I'm not going to lie. The challenge is kind of stupid, but the song is pretty good.
Yeah, it is. The album was good, actually, do that.
Yeah. Which is, they released an album last year? Did they release an album last year?
Yep. Yeah, it was like Swaycation and whatever. There's like, it was Shrem 3.
I want to point out, I forgot to mention when I did my 10 through 6, if Fine Line got released like a month later, it would have been in my top 10. But it came out in December 2019, so
same, Jake.
Harry Styles just kind of missed the list for me. Just want to shout out Harry Styles. I know he's listening. He's a big fan. But just want to shout him out. I said it in my article about the top 10 hits of the year, but if there was ever any doubt that he would go on to have the best career of any One Direction member, it's been crushed by Fine Line because that album is incredible. But anyway, moving on to Jesus, I think it might be Olivia's turn to go number 3.
Yeah, so the rest of my list is all women, which I love. Number 3, I got Halsey, Manic. I just feel like this album is just like hit after hit. Like you have Nightmare and Graveyard, which are like so great, but then you also have like some deeper cuts like 929 and 3 a.m. And I feel like that brings out the emo side, which you guys know I love.
mm-hmm.
You're a big Halsey fan. You've been a big Halsey fan for a long time.
You know I have since the indie mix days. I've been a Halsey fan. Yeah, I just love her. I feel like it goes back to like her old fans would appreciate this album. Like it would go back to her first album, kind of the same.
She, it's funny about the thing about Halsey is I've never been like a huge fan of Halsey's music, but my favorite song of hers is Colors, which is the one that's reportedly about Maddie Healy.
No way!
Your favorite.
I love that song too.
Because she talks about A, and rampant drug use, which Maddie Healy, and B, that the guy's mom used to be like a talk show host or something, and his mom used to be a talk show host.
It all makes sense
Yeah,
now.
it does.
But yeah, they used to run together.
You
but
can't deny she has good songwriting skills, though.
she does.
Right.
She's
She has
good.
a great voice too. I really love that album. There's like this one song, or is it even a song, or is it just like a clip from like that Megan Fox movie, Killing Boys?
You got me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Jennifer's Body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, let's go! And then like, that song Ashley, which isn't that her name? Like her
Yeah,
name.
her name's actually Ashley.
Oh my god, like I love that song. So I really like that album too. I didn't include it on my top 10, but it's a great album. Yeah, me too.
This is one of those albums that, and again, like this is just the case with me, like with the artist. I'm not a big Halsey fan, so I didn't really love the album. Like it's just something I had to give a chance to because everybody was raving about it, except for everybody's favorite music review site.
I know it got a bad rep.
It
Yeah.
did get a bad rep.
Yeah.
They every now Gibbs knows my my volatile relationship with Pitchfork.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, they really nailed this, and then sometimes I'm like, what in the hell are they talking?
Sometimes they just like shit all over something.
Like I saw their Man on the Moon 3 review and almost had a heart attack lying in bed.
Like, look on the bright side. They used to be a lot more snarkier and a lot less good of writers in like the early 2000s, and now they're actually kind of legit. But like, yeah,
I
totally
think
get
if you want to have your Pitchfork album reviewed well, just rename yourself Fiona Apple, or just name the album Fiona
it. Radiohead was the joke like 10 years ago that they were.
Just call it Radiohead, and you'll get like a 9 at least from them. But anyway,
Yeah.
Also, like say something back to them about the bad review, and then it like blew up into this.
yeah, it did because she apparently didn't realize that their headquarters is at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And the joke did not land, obviously, because
Oh,
Great.
she it didn't really work out for her there.
damn.
Yeah, no, it
But
didn't.
like, how would you know that? Like, if you don't,
Right.
live in New
Nah.
York, like, you wouldn't really.
She said something like blow up the basement that this person's in or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Not
Realizing what you're talking about, like that's
Wow.
No.
that's bad.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
She apologized for it. She's like, I don't think anybody. I didn't know that. Like, I obviously didn't mean that. Like, she obviously didn't want like that to happen. Like, it's just a misunderstanding.
Right.
But yeah, so there's that. Oh, but Jake Ruth here guessing that the new M&Ms in your top 2 is the funniest shit
Oh please!
I've seen.
Oh, I forgot Eminem put out an album this year.
I gotta take a breath for a second.
Wow.
All right.
Oliver in this podcast. God damn.
So my number 3, I'm pretty sure that Steve will be talking about this one at some point. And that is March 15th, 2020 by Childish Gambino, which is an example of an album that I think when I was talking to Gibbs about this, it's kind of like his Sigma Oasis, where it wasn't an album that was like beloved by critics, but it's an album that connected with you and kind of made a real impact. And this album just hit me like March 15th. That was pretty much when all this started. And that was really when lockdown began. And I was just kind of very introspective, just wondering what like the next year was going to be like, next few months was going to be like. And I remember just driving around listening to that album. And I get that it might come across as lazy because they're just pretty much time codes and there's no album art, like whatever. But I think that calling it March 15th, 2020 kind of just sets that moment in time. And I'll always look back at that moment and at that date and at that album and remember where I was listening to it. I remember Time. Like I texted Steve when I listened to Time for the first time. I was like, I almost cried listening to this song. Like this song absolutely demolished me. It's got features from Ariana Grande on there. I think that's on Time actually. Algorithm's a great song. Steve, help me out. Was it 53? What's the one I'm thinking about? 53, 51. What's it called?
53. The last album song. 5329.
5329.
That's my favorite song of the year.
I think 1931 is also the other one that I liked a lot. I'd have to go back and look. The only thing that's hard with time codes being your song titles is that they're not particularly memorable.
How'd it go? What was your favorite? Like my favorite one was 5329, and then 2419. I think it was like Sweet Thing. You know,
there were some songs that like had quote unquote titles, but like they weren't like referred to as such. Yeah, 2419. 1910, that's the one I'm thinking of. 3531 also. It's another one I love.
I get where you're coming from with that. With regards to Kendrick Lamar's Untitled Unmastered, which has one of my favorite Kendrick Lamar songs on it, but I can never remember the actual title. But when I say, oh, Blue Faces, you know exactly which song it is.
That's the song I know too. I was going to ask you if it was Blue Faces or not.
And not to mention, I said this to Gibbs when I was defending this album, as I do like once a month, it seems, but he could not have picked a worse time for it to drop. It completely vanished. Like no one remembered it because of when it came out, and that's unfortunate for Gambino because I was really anticipating this because I thought he was done making music, and this might come as a surprise to a lot of people, especially knowing that I'm a huge Gambino fan. I didn't love "Awaken My Love." Wasn't a big fan of the album, but I like love his old stuff. I love his mixtapes. Like "Break All the Lights" was the first Gambino song I ever heard, and it's still one of my favorite Gambino songs ever. Shout out Brandon Maxwell for introducing me to that song. It's a banger, forever will be. Again, another song I wish I could quote here on the airwaves, but I will not for my self-preservation. But I absolutely love Gambino. I think he's just a master. I mean, I know people look at him and they kind of think that they don't really get the deal, but I've always kind of seen and identified with Gambino, even though he's kind of gone a little off the rails here and there. But I've always loved the guy. I've been on his hype train now for 6 or 7 years and not getting off. So that's my number 3.
I will have more to say about that soon.
Right.
I'm sure you will. Mr. Gibbs.
All right, my number 3. This is where Carly Rae Jepsen's Dedicated Side B comes in. This is actually number 3 is the lowest that I've had a Carly Rae Jepsen album on my list in a while, which should tell you how much I love her music. And I want to point out, like, in terms of the B-sides, how interesting this record is in terms of its construction. There are 2 songs on here, Felt This Way and Stay Away, that basically use the same hook and chorus, but they use them in 2 very different ways on the 2 songs. I really love the song I Don't Hate California. After all, it has a bit of a vaporwave type thing that I think is really great. Summer Love is a really great indie pop song. And it just shows to her strengths as a songwriter that all these songs did not make the main Dedicated record and that she put these out later. And yeah, she's just a really great songwriter, really great collaborative songwriter. Really, you can tell right away what a Carly Rae Jepsen lyric and what a Carly Rae Jepsen song structure sounds like from the last couple records, and she's just always great.
Jack Antonoff, all over your top 10, Gibbs.
Weird, right?
You know what? I like Jack Antonoff. Even though I'm not like I know this didn't come up this year because she hasn't released an album, but maybe in 2021 it'll come up. I've never been a big fan of Lorde, and I know he works with her a lot. I've just never been a huge fan. I know that shocks a lot of people because I've never heard a bad thing said about Lorde, and her music's not bad. It's just not really for me.
If you told me in 2007 that of all of the indie artists that I was listening to, that the one that would be like a super relevant producer would be the lead singer of the band Steel Train, which is what the band Jack Antonoff sang for before he was in Fun,
and
I wouldn't have believed you because band was not really great.
Don't even get me started on Fun.
Fun.
I liked Fun back in the day.
I thought we all liked Fun. What are you talking about?
Fun had a couple of good songs.
I love the band The Format, which is what Nate Roos used to sing in, and I kind of rue Fun because the Format broke up because he was in Fun.
Okay.
And the Format had just reunited when COVID started, and I was like, that meant we didn't get any sort of tour out of the Format, and that's one of the lost things of 2020.
Nate Roos is in the great pantheon of singers that I would like Fun a lot more if he wasn't the singer. His voice is so abrasive. His voice is just so abrasive to me. Like I just can't.
It's his face, isn't it?
Yeah, like all I remember from the video from Some Nights is his super up close face singing, and I'm like, this is really unpleasant for me. I really don't want to see this anymore. Can you?
I do feel that, yeah. It got to a point where it was just no more.
It's too much. And then thank God, like, yeah, Jack Antonoff has made it quite a career for himself. Shout out to, I mean, he's worked with a lot of people, but like Taylor Swift, Carly Rae Jepsen, Lorde, like those are his big three right now. And I don't know if you guys have listened to, I mean, Bleacher's new album that came out like 3 years ago. But his song on there, Hate That You Know Me, with Carly Rae Jepsen, is one of my favorite songs he's ever done. And probably has something to do with the fact she's on it and is great. There's that. Vanessa, your number 3.
Oh, yes. So my number 3 is also Juice WRLD, Legends Never Die. I think I had to give it top 3 because it definitely is like one of my most played albums throughout the entire year, especially like in the summer. It was just like a bunch of bops to like drive around the car to and sit at the pool with. Yeah, my favorite song is probably Man of the Year, just because of that line in the beginning, sipping codeine like it's beer. It was just too on point, man, for me. I was like, this is awesome. Let's go.
That lyric spoke to you?
The line of the whole album, I was like, all right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just, it made me miss my partying days. Just kidding.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oh sure.
It really is sad how many songs on that album like foreshadowed what was going to happen.
Oh, totally.
Right.
All the songs did, though. Even like the early ones, he was always talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, how old was he? He was 21.
Yeah, like one weekend.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
So sad.
It really is. But it's a great pick. I mean, I have not heard a bad thing about that album. And what, it come out in July? Is that what it was? Was it July?
Maybe May.
Yeah, I think it came out kind of earlier, but good album. It had like some like good contributions to like with him like talking and all of that, which I really liked. And yeah, I think he like talks about anxiety in there too, which is really cool. I really enjoyed that album like all the way through, and yeah, it's a great album.
I can't follow you. I mean, I have a really big appreciation for Steve Ice Richard comment. I'm sorry, I had a come on, shout out Taylor Swift. She's a Rhode Island resident, just like most of us.
I've spoken to her before.
Olivia's close enough. She'll
I'm gonna grab my laptop charger real quick.
Okay. So that works out well because that was Vanessa's number 3. So Steve, it swings back to you for your silver medalist of the year.
All right, silver medalist. I am going to go with an album that I loved a lot, and it's not the one you already mentioned, Jake. It is, well, actually, you did mention this one. It's Eternal Take.
Hey.
But the deluxe version with Love is Rage 2. I need the whole thing. I need the whole 30 song.
That's the one with Myron on it, right?
Yep, Myron, Lotus.
I love Myron.
Oh, goddamn, Strawberry Peels. Oh, the album, dude. I have not, like, I listened to, like, a lot of Juice WRLD this year, but of, like, 2020 albums, this is, like, my most listened to song. I mean, album. I put this on, just jamming out, just do whatever. It doesn't matter. The album, so accessible. It's the rare album that lives up to the hype. It was, like, everything about Uzi was, like, oh, when's he going to release Eternal Take? Blah, 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 blah. And I thought never. I was like, I kind of even put that one past that in my brain. But when that album came out and it lived up to the hype, oh my God. Some face melting bangers. You got Strawberry Peels. You got No Auto with Lil Durk. My favorite song, however, is his singing ballad with Sid, Urgency. I love that song. That's my favorite song. Oh my God. And you know what? Too, he's got some samples on there. He samples the Space Cadet 3D from the Microsoft freaking the pinball game. Remember that Microsoft game?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was famous that he sampled that. That's right.
Yep, that was on You Better Move. That song.
Yep, that's right. That's my favorite song on the album. You Better Move. That had the Blue Eyes White Dragon reference.
Yep, Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Oh my God! And when I heard that, I remember I had run to get a sandwich. I just pulled home and I was listening to that song, and I heard him say it, and I did it like a literal like double take like you'd see in a movie. I was like what? And I had to rewind the song. And I again. I'm like, I know he's a big anime guy, but I was like, did this guy really just drop a Blue Eyes White Dragon reference? Like, are you serious?
In that song too. So he goes from that, then he goes Blue Eyes White Dragon. Something about being using Fruit of the Loom. I I'm more of an iPod. You're more of a Zune. Like some of these are insane references. Oh, that's back when I used to watch Zoom. Remember that?
That's a devastating line too. I'm an iPod, you're a Zune. That's a devastating line.
Oh, I wanted a Zoom back in the day. My mom didn't get it for me for Christmas. Whatever year that was.
Zooms looked cool, but they were very impractical. Like just looking.
They weren't good.
No, they were not. And there's a reason why Star-Lord has one in Guardians of the Galaxy because it's like a joke.
Yeah.
On an iPod. It probably costs nothing to use it too. Like using an iPod costs money. But anyway, that's a good pick. Obviously, it was in my top 10. So I love it. It's been in my top 10 pretty much all year since I listened to it. And there have been a lot of albums that got kicked out of my top 10 this year, but Eternal Take remained there the whole time. It's a good album.
Thank you, bro.
Great album. Fantastic. Looking forward to what Lil Uzi Vert's got next. Olivia, you're number 2. You're silver medalist.
So I actually ranked our Rhode Island resident Taylor Swift at number 2.
Ooh.
Evermore?
No.
1989.
I haven't to listen to Evermore fully because it just came out the other day, which is all right, just casually dropping another one. But I've always been a Swift fan since Tim McGraw, the old days, and I just love how she's always taking a risk and doing something different, and having Bon Iver on a track is just I just love that. I was
cheat code.
He's so good. Combo right here.
Cheat code. Get out of here. He's good, but don't call him a cheat.
He's a cheat code, Jake. He's good. He's really good.
He's really good. It's not like you put him on a song, you're like, oh my god, Bonnie Bear.
Well, him on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Steve, that song features 7 people.
Yeah, wait, which song was that one?
Lost in the World.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about Monster. I was like, Monster has 7 people on it.
I barely remember he's on that song.
I mean, there's 1,000 people on that song.
Right.
Lost in the World. That's his whole sample. That whole first part.
No, I meant Monster. Lost in the World. Yes, that's good. But also, Monster was the song that launched Nicki Minaj, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could go on. I could do a whole episode on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I love that album.
Yeah.
Kanye West, he might be crazy now, but he made a perfect album.
That was a perfect album.
Unbelievable album. But anyway, we are talking about Taylor Swift, who is actually kind of connected to Kanye West. Not in a great way.
Always.
Not in a great way.
Now, I would say I would say she's, and actually, it's a pretty good question. Who's had the better musical career album-wise, her or Kanye West? Because she never made anything as good as My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh no! That was the last great record he made.
But his lows are his lows are a lot worse than hers.
That is true.
I know Josh Martin is somewhere. His ears are ringing as I say this, but Reputation's a bad album. I'm sorry to break it.
Yes.
Bad album. It's got good songs. It is a bad album.
Yeah.
It's weird to think Delicate is from that album. It just doesn't feel like a song from there. It's so much better than everything else on the record.
She would be good enough if she took Delicate retroactively, put it on 1989, and just deleted Reputation remixes. Because I say this as the only person on this entire planet who likes the song Endgame. I'm the only person who likes that song. I'm fine.
I love that song. I really like it.
Some people also like it. I love it because the Lights Camera Barstool podcast recut the Endgame first trailer with the Endgame song, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And then I got binging listening to it, and I love it. Even though Ed Sheeran and Future have no place together on a song, they make no sense.
No, you're right about that.
But it's like putting meatballs and I'm trying to get anchovies. I guess those both belong on pizza. You get but that's actually kind of an intriguing conversation of who's had the better overall career. I would say, oh my god, I would probably say Taylor, just because she's had fewer lows. Reputation sucks, but pretty much everything else she's made has been really damn good. Kanye's had some not great albums before.
Yeah.
I'd go Kanye personally.
I would go Kanye.
Damn, Dark Fantasy is such a good album.
His first his first few every album that he had up until My Life with Pablo changed the game.
And My Life with Pablo, I really like that album too.
The Life with Pablo is one of his most polarizing albums. That's
the thing is you can't even really say which one is obviously the Dark Twisted Fantasy one, but if you remove that, right? how can you even say which one is the best? Like College Dropout, Graduation, those are hits on there.
Late Registration.
Like all of those. It's just Touch the Sky, like that one Diamond.
This time.
Yeah, there's like so many great songs. Like I would have to go Kanye just because of that. But
I'm actually kind of switching my vote now. I think it is Kanye just because
yeah, good too. But like
he's had more lows than Taylor Swift. He's also released, I think more albums than her, right? Or the same amount of albums. I honestly don't know.
And that's what makes a well-rounded artist, though, is somebody who will like go out there and try like really different things. I know Taylor Swift has, and she went country, or she was country, and she kind of went more popish, and yeah, respect. But like Kanye's like done like gospel. I don't know. He's just
And I mean, like I'll say, I don't like Jesus is King. I do not like.
Right, but he went and took that risk. You know what I mean?
He took a risk, and it did not turn out as well as Taylor Swift's dipping her toe into folk music.
Which, like, is it a failure because he does have like a cult that he has started from it?
Yeah, true.
I'm just gonna pop a quick allegedly in there, just to people listening, even though I know they're not. But back to Taylor Swift for a moment. I do remember, like when she announced she was dropping a surprise album, it was like a momentous occasion because like she didn't do that. I mean, how much buildup was there to Reputation and Lover? Like so much buildup to those singles, everything, and then she was just like, "Here you go. Here's Folklore. Enjoy it."
And everything felt like different about it. I don't know.
I remember I listened to it playing Mortal Kombat one night, and I was like, "These probably don't go together well," but I'm gonna do it anyway. Shout out Ed Boon, big fan of the podcast. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I liked Folklore. It did not make my top 20 or top 10, but I enjoyed it. I ended up actually giving it the same score I did Evermore. I think they are both very equal albums, and I know a lot of people will disagree with that. But
I like Folklore more than Evermore, but I like Evermore. That's a really good record. It's just it came out the same year as Folklore is the big problem with it.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have called one Evermore and one Folklore, and I probably wouldn't have known the difference.
She did get both Haim and the Nationals' very first Hot 100 hit this week when the whole album made the Hot 100.
That was Haim's first ever appearance on the Hot 100.
Yeah, can you believe that? No The Wire, no Forever, no Want You Back, no If I Can Change Your Mind.
I can't believe The Wire or Want You Back didn't make the Hot 100. At least like the lower like rungs of the Hot 100.
Yeah, it's weird. Like that's their first top 40 Hot 100 appearances. That what I think is the best song on Evermore, which is Nobody.
Thank you. So do I. I love that song. I love that song. A lot of people disagree apparently, but I do love that song.
I haven't listened to it or any of it.
Don't screw Taylor Swift over because she will murder you with the help of Haim, apparently. That's just something to keep in the back of your mind. So my number 2, and it's funny, I just spent like 20 minutes ago, I was just talking shit about how you could just call an album Fiona Apple and you'll get a 9 on Pitchfork. But my number 2 is Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be up there.
So the best way I can describe this album is it's like me watching a performance of Hamlet, because I see it and I'm like, I know what I'm watching is great. I know what I'm watching is fantastic. It's like a moment in music history is what I'm watching here, or play history, whatever. I can't really explain it to you though. Like I really want to explain why it's so great, but I'm not at that level to do it. Like I just know, like I hear it and it's so unique and so different from everything else out there. And she's always been like that. I know Gibbs is kind of the Fiona Apple expert amongst us all here. So correct me if I'm wrong at any point here, Gibbs, but she's always been like that. I mean, it's on her terms when she wants to do things, when she wants to release stuff. She's potentially going to boycott the Grammys because Dr. Luke got nominated. So
unsurprising.
That's fine. Do that. I don't care. I mean, she should boycott the Grammys because her album didn't get nominated in the first place. But
it got nominated for alternative album and a couple rock categories, which were mostly nominated women this year in the rock categories. Was the one category that they got really right in the Grammys was rock. Everything else was kind of not correct.
They nominated a deluxe version of a Black Pumas album over Fiona Apple's.
They nominated somebody named Jacob Collier, who I'm not sure if they're somebody's kid or not. I've never heard of this person
or
before.
Jacob Collier, because no one had ever heard of him. And then the whole sequence that day was nominations released. Who's Jacob Collier? this album sucks. Why is he nominated? That was the sequence from everybody on Twitter. It was like, why is he?
Is he some YouTuber? I'm still not entirely sure who he is.
But one way or the other, Fiona Apple probably should have been nominated because this album is great. I mean, it made headlines when Pitchfork gave it a 10, which is the first time they've done that for a new album since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
They almost never give out 10s.
They don't.
What was your favorite song off the album?
Mine is probably either Shamiko or I Want You to Love Me.
Okay.
I like Heavy Balloon.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm partial to Newspaper.
There you go.
I get it because I work. Okay, anyway. It's good. I mean, the whole album is great. I think it's like just a shade under an hour. It's like 50 minutes, 51 minutes. It's good. It's about a dozen songs. You'll probably find something you like if you listen to. If you're going to listen to Fiona Apple before, but you got to admit, they've flirted with giving her a 10 before many times.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the Idler Wheel was like what, a 9.4 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like they've come very close before. And when they gave this a 10, I was like, all right, well, I don't have to worry about what their album of the year is because I'm not going to top that unless she releases Fetch the Bolt Cutters again. But
doesn't she have the world record for like the longest album name ever?
For a while she did. I think Chumbawamba now has the longest
Oh,
album
really?
title.
they need to have something.
How did they get it longer? Was it
But
like
yeah, it's like 90 words long. When the Pawn, which is her second record.
Yeah.
funny.
But Gibbs, I know this will be coming up on your list later, so I won't spend too much oxygen on this right now. But anyway, actually, I think you're up next now that I think about it. Yeah, you're up.
So my number 2 album this year is Sideways to New Italy by Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. They are an Australian jangle pop band. If you are familiar with like the Gin Blossoms or REM, you kind of get the genre that these band is. The big thing with them is that they have 3 guitar players. And on all of their songs, you can hear the 3 guitar players do very different things with their guitars in terms of how they, get them to jangle and how it works with the catchy melodies that they write. They also have 3 songwriters. The one of the songs on this record, Cars in Space, is my favorite song of the year. It is like just full of hooks. Even when it's just like 2 minutes of them banging on their guitars, it's just really incredibly catchy. They released like 3 other singles off this record, which are really, really great. And yeah, like listening to kind of like jangly Rickenbacker indie jangle pop is like just catnip to my ears because I grew up, like I said, listening to REM and the Gin Blossoms and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and stuff like this just really just catches my ear right away. This was a band that I would have loved to have seen live this year. They were probably going to come to America, but that's not happening. I have heard that Australia has done a better job with COVID than the US has. So maybe they got in some kind of socially distanced performance this year. But yeah, they are on the top of my list for 2021 for seeing stuff. They released a record a couple years ago and an EP before that I thought were really great. And this is kind of the pinnacle of what they do. They really seem to be more so than somebody like Real Estate. They seem to be the band to go to for this kind of music. And it's really great to see them put out such a great album in a year that, desperately needed some really fun indie jangle rock.
2 things, 2 quick notes. First off, Gibbs, you remember that you and I used to get into it about Blur and Oasis? Do you remember that? Yeah. You were Team Blur, I was Team Oasis. I'm not off that hill still. Second of all, this band, I have not screwed up the name of a band more than I have this one this year. Like,
because it's a full sentence.
Okay, hold on. It's Rolling Coastal Blackouts Fever? No, it's
Rolling Blackouts Coastal Fever. I don't know why they gave themselves such a tongue-twisting, long name.
Convoluted name. But it's a good album. I listened to it. It gives a recommendation. It's very good. I'm a sucker for jangle pop type stuff too. I mean, see the 1975. But yeah, it's a great album. So I highly recommend it. And so does Mr. Gibbs. So Vanessa, your number 2.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Man on the Moon 3, Kid Cudi. I probably would have put it number 1, but since it just released, it's just not right to put it number 1 yet. I haven't fully processed it, I don't think, but it'll get a 2. Yeah, I don't know. I think right now, like the favorite song changes like depending on the day, but I do like how like in the beginning of She Knows This, there's like that ode to Stand By Me.
Yeah.
And Kid Cudi does that too. Like, so are you allowed to swear on this podcast?
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Oh, fuck
okay.
yeah.
So like in Indicud with Unfuckwittable, that's my favorite song of Kid Cudi's, and there's like a line from The Godson in that. So where he's like, "You can fly, nobody can touch you." I love that. So like having that like again, like the theme of that occurring, it's just cool, like, you know. And then I really like Lord I Know too.
Yep.
I think that might be my other favorite like of the week from that.
Yeah.
But we'll see like what it is next week, you know.
Yeah. That I remember when I listened to it for the first time, I just kind of put it on and I was like, I need to pay attention to this. So I was listening to it, reading the lyrics on Genius as I was going along. I was like,
and like reading you, like we're like in the DMs, and you're like, did you like listen to this yet? I'm like, no, but I'm trying to focus on the lyrics on Genius, so stop tweeting them.
Exactly. I'm like texting somebody, or you guys were DMing me, and I'm like,
I'm like,
if you guys haven't listened yet, it's unbelievable.
Right. There's a song on there too. I think it's September 16th. That's like produced by Phineas, which is Billie Eilish's brother, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
He's
one of those top producers right now. He's
he's cool.
Phineas, so hot right now. He's big. He's big out there.
He's got that edgy vibe going, you know.
Yeah, he's interesting.
He's good.
He was out there before his sister. Obviously, he's older, but yeah, he's. I think he's been just a little bit outshined by.
Yeah, just a little.
He doesn't care though. I don't think.
No, he doesn't care. He's more of a behind the scenes person anyway.
I think he actually dropped an album too. I don't know if that was this year or not, but
remember if that was this year. But
because I think
next year's gonna have some big time releases if things hold as they're supposed to. Like,
right.
I expect her to drop a new album. I expect Adele to some point drop a new album.
Yeah.
Shout out Drake if he's listening. I really appreciate that he's dropping his new album in January, so I can get the worst record of the year out of the way.
I'm so excited of Drake.
Oh my god!
Very happy. I'm so happy.
He's never gone away.
I hated John playing demo tapes. I hated that album. Oh man, I can't wait to listen to his new one because I gotta listen to it at least. I can't say I hate it just because it's Drake. I gotta at least put myself
right.
The worst part about Drake is that he regularly makes like good singles, and you have to pay attention to him.
He's a great single artist.
Yeah.
Like Laugh Now, Cry Later made my honorable mentions this year. It's a good song.
Right. I like that song. I like feel so bad that I hate on Drake so badly, especially because I actually liked that show Degrassi too.
Oh yeah.
You think that, or like when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like I watched it then. I wouldn't say I like it now or anything.
I get you. No, I got you. I mean, he's an easy target, but
he is an easy target.
He's also an easy target for a reason because most of his music is not very good.
Yeah, most is not good. Some is.
Yeah. He's got
boy vibes. Oh god!
Like Gibbs said, great singles. He has great songs, and I mean, I think his last great album was "Take Care." Personally, I think that album actually rips, to be honest. And just go back and listen to our top 10 songs of the decade. I had "Take Care," I think, at number 2 or 3. That song is unbelievable, mostly because of Rihanna, but that song is unbelievable.
Right.
Mostly because of Rihanna, mostly because of Jamie XX, mostly because of Gil Scott-Heron.
Jimmy XX.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, pretty much all those things, and then Drake doesn't get in the way. That's pretty much how I see that song. But yeah, so Drake, I'm not even sure how the hell we got onto Drake at this point. Oh, thank you for releasing your album in 2021, so I can listen to it and not have to worry. He'll probably drop a mixtape in like June anyway, so I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, please make sure it's not an hour and a half long, like every other album you drop. If you're listening, I know you're a big fan. So, with that being said, Steve, do you have any honorable mentions before we go to our number ones?
Oh, for sure. So I put Mac Miller's Circles on there. I like that album a lot. But I
Steve froze.
Bye-bye.
That's unfortunate. That was Steve's only. He listened to 11 albums this year, and that was it. He listened to no more. That's actually a good time for me to interject because I did ask for Lindsey Bond's top 5 rather. So let me read that off real quick while Steve reconnects, which he just did. So Lindsey Bond's top 5 was Man on the Moon 3 was number 5. Folklore was number 4. Women in Music Part 3 was number 3. This was an album called Limbo by somebody.
Oh, yeah. I love that album.
And her number 1 was Circles by Mac Miller. So thank you, Lindsay, for submitting that. We appreciate it. But yeah, so Steve, without further ado, what are your other honorable mentions?
All right, yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, Circles is one. Brent Faiyaz, Fuck the World, that came out in, I think that was in March. I seriously think that Brent Faiyaz has the best voice I've ever heard. Him and Marvin Gaye are my two favorite voices I've ever heard in my life. If you ever get a chance to listen to some Brent Faiyaz, give it a chance. And I love how aggressive the name of the album is, because it's really not like that, like the name of the album is Fuck the World, but he's he's like an R&B singer, which is just funny. I just love it. Now another one is Tame Impala, Slow Rush. Love that.
Yep.
I liked I don't know how to say this guy's name, but Yves Tumor.
Oh, Yves Tumor, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Great album.
Yep, that was fantastic. I love experimental shit like that. Heaven to a Tortured Mind.
I'm gonna say, I felt, as much as I shit on Pitchfork, I actually kind of felt I felt good about myself when I saw that Gospel for a New Century made their top 10 songs of the year.
Yeah,
I think that song is great. I was like, that's a great song.
Yep, that's a fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Another one I had was Blue in Exile's Miles album. If you guys get a chance, it's kind of like a Mad Lib type. It's a lot like Bandana from last year for Freddie Gibbs. Like, it's like a producer and rapper type thing. And one more I had was Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats Unlocked. I love that. That was early on in this year. I can't believe so many albums came out this year that it's like it feels like 3 years happened in the 1 year.
Yeah, definitely.
No Savage Mode 2, Steve?
Yeah, it's an honorable mention, sure. Yeah, I'd put it on there. Why not?
All right, Olivia, what's some honorables for you?
A couple Knuckle Puck. We said 2020 was what it's called.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I know, Jake, you're not. You think Green Day's overrated, but still one of my faves. Father of All came out this year, and it wasn't my fave, but I do appreciate that they did something different. So, honorable mention. This is random, but Rico Nasty.
There you go. Yeah.
My best friend loves her, and she got me to her this year, but it just came out last week, so that's why I felt like I couldn't put it in the top.
I like it though.
Yeah. And Kesha, High Road.
Yeah, Kesha kind of got lost in the shuffle. She did drop a new album. It was still pretty good.
Yeah. It was good, but it was in the middle.
So I'll go ahead and read you guys off rapid fire 30 through 11 on my list.
Let's go.
Oh wow.
30, Psychedelic Furs Made of Rain. 29, Chloe and Haley, Ungodly Hour. 28, Bad Bunny, the one with a bunch of letters. 27, Knuckle Puck 2020. Number 26, The Naked and the Famous Recover. 25 is Tame Impala, Slow Rush. 24, Taylor Swift Folklore. 23, Tiana Taylor's The Album. 22, Taylor Swift Evermore. 21, Glass Animals Dreamland. 20 is Yves Tumor's Heaven to a Tortured Mind. 19 is Jessie Ware's What's Your Pleasure. 18 is Sam Hunt's Southside. 17 is Thundercats' It Is What It Is. 16, Angel Olsen's Whole New Mess. 15, Seaway's Big Vibe. 14, Ariana Grande's Positions. 13, Waxahachie's St. Cloud. 12, Alanis Morissette's Such Pretty Forks in the Road. And number 11 was Biba Doobie's Fake It Flowers. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yes, Alanis making it in.
Great album. Gibbs, I can't believe you didn't listen to it.
Yeah, I have not gotten around to the last Morissette. It's been a second since I've listened to her. So my honorable mentions, I also made a top 50. I'm just gonna go through some highlights of that. The album that it really broke my heart to not make my top 10 was Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. That's a fantastic record. I really love Kyoto. Psychedelic Furs Made of Rain is in there too. They've been gone for a while, and then they come back with maybe their best record since their heyday in the late 80s. Swimmer by Tennis is in my honorable mentions. The British jazz group Dinosaur, who put out the record To the Earth. If you like kind of sparse jazz, they do a really good stuff with that. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard put out a live album called Chunky Shrapnel that I really, really loved. They've put out something like 16 studio albums in the 10 years they've been together, and they're an amazing live act, and it's really cool to have a document of them. And then Another live album that made my honorable mentions is Nick Mason's Saucers Full of Secrets live at the Roundhouse. So this is the band that the drummer for Pink Floyd, who was part of Pink Floyd for their entire history, he put together a band to play their music from before Dark Side of the Moon, so all their early psychedelic stuff. And it has the guitarist from Spandau Ballet. It has the bassist that replaced Roger Waters in Pink Floyd. And this is a really incredible live album. It's really cool to hear songs like See Emily Play and the Nile Song and other like pre-Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd classics played live, because they dropped all those songs from their set list after Dark Side of the Moon. And they really breathe a new life. It's like listening to it's very different from listening to a tribute band, because Nick Mason is there, and it's just a really cool live record.
Definitely not a tribute band. It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. Vanessa, any honorable mentions?
Should I like do repeats if I have them or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have Tennis with Swimmer there. And I have Halls down there with Maniac. Other albums I really enjoyed, Lady Gaga's Chromatica, which I feel kind of bad not including in my top 10, but she didn't make the cut for me this year, but that was a great album. Party Next Door's album was really good.
All good. Yep.
Yep. I just started listening to Chris Stapleton's album, so I couldn't put it on my top 10, but I did enjoy that. Obviously Dua Lipa with The Future Nostalgia. Selena Gomez is Rare, I really liked from the pop side of me, and also like Justin Bieber's Changes I really enjoyed. I have Run the Jewels album, Fredo, Freddie Gibbs, and Mac Miller, of course, with Circles. Those are my honorable mentions.
Without further ado, Steve Scott, your album of the year.
My album of the year, Jake, you've already mentioned this, and I have very similar thoughts about it. It is Childish Gambino's March 15th, 2020.
Wow.
You know what? I didn't listen to this album as much as I listened to Juice WRLD and Lil Uzi Vert's album. However, this album, I hold this album in such high esteem. This album is the 2020 album for me. It came out at the perfect time. We were waiting for this Gambino album forever. Like, it was like, when's he gonna drop? When's he gonna put out an album? And then that weird link comes out or whatever. He tweets or whatever. He like tweets every Groundhog Day, and
Him tweeting stops the world because he never tweets.
I know. Then you go to the website and there's like a code you can enter or something. You could hear like a song, and it was like weird, but like then you could hear the song and it was really good. And it was like you could hear like Feels Like Summer, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But then like the full thing came out, and I have the same sentiments that the world was shut down, and then I was like feeling like I don't know what the hell to do. I'm gonna get in my car and I'm gonna listen to this album, and that's what I did. And actually, my first memory of listening to this album, I was with my mom, and we're driving down by Charlestown Beach, and I took a right on Route 1, on a red, and I got a ticket. I didn't know you couldn't take a right on red there because, and this is like the fucking like right when the fucking COVID's happening. I'm like freaked out. I get a ticket in the mail. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I remember listening
from like the camera.
Yeah, from the camera.
Oh,
near where Josh lives.
Throw them away.
I had to pay it.
That sounds like something Cosmo Kramer would say on Seinfeld.
Yeah,
No, not real. Just throw them away.
People matter. They can't make you pay that.
Yeah, they can.
They can. That's not even like a real person.
Yeah, no, it's a strike on your license.
Right now.
Fight the power. I think, but personally though, I just want to say about this album, I think that this is, this is just my personal thought. I think that this is some of Gambino's best work. I love that Algorithm, the song Algorithm, almost feels like 808s and Heartbreak, which was one of my favorite Kanye albums. I like that has the rap feel, has the electro, the funk, the R&B. It's rumored to be his last album. You got the 21 Savage feature. I wanted to add that to when Jake was talking about it. You got the Ariana Grande thing. And I think my number one song of Gambino all time is 5349. if this is his last album and the last song he ever puts out, I'm satisfied. That first time I heard it, I wanted to cry. That song is just like a perfect song. I still listen to it and get goosebumps. I think that song is something else. And I played it for other people, and I'm like, yo, this is my favorite song. And they're like, yeah, it's a good song. And I'm like, you don't feel it, bro. Like you gotta like open your heart to this song. It's so good.
I still think, and this is all I'm going to say about it, because as with most early Gambino, I cannot say a word from the song. But I still think my favorite Gambino song, I think, is still "Freaks and Geeks." That's probably still my favorite song it is. And a line that I will not say here, but is my favorite Gambino line he's ever rapped. I have a red sweatshirt that looks just like the sweatshirt he wears in the video. So completely unplanned there.
Very on brand.
But anyway, that is a great pick, Steve. Obviously, it was my number 3, so you will find no arguments from me.
Thank you very much.
Olivia, your album of the year.
Well, aside from All Time Low, which I guess I should have put it.
Right.
But still up there. Haley Williams.
Oh no,
Haley Williams, yeah.
Cool
Dude,
choice.
I put that album. I put the artwork for that album in the teaser
I
tweet.
know, I saw that. I was like,
Not even knowing it was going to be on anyone's list. I just
I don't know if someone mentioned it.
when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that's the one I put in.
It's a great album. It's a great album.
Yeah, literally. I think it's like a theme with like everyone that like people like trying different styles. So from her stepping away from Paramore and like trying that, I just love it. Like Cinnamon is my favorite song. It's just super timeless, I feel like, and there's a lot of like raw tracks. I'm so sad because I was gonna see her live in Boston this summer, but you know, everything got forward, so
Damn.
I bet that would have been amazing. So hopefully.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it would have been crazy. I feel like they put on a good show. I've never seen Paramore. I think Emily's seen Paramore.
We've seen Paramore.
Yeah, Vanessa and I saw her.
One of my favorite concerts for sure.
Yeah.
I meant to mention my favorite concert is probably Fleetwood Mac. I saw them last year.
Oh, cool.
But
The new lineup?
I saw Gambino at the House of Blues right after because the internet came out. I saw him with Brandon Maxwell. Shout out Brandon Maxwell. And we were like, I've never been to the House of Blues before. I'm assuming you have.
No.
But there's that mezzanine where it's like tucked away in the corner where you can barely see the stage. That's where we were. But it was still the most cosmic experience of my life. It was such a great performance.
To see her.
But I would love to see Haley Williams in concert or Paramore, either one really. I know they've had some riffs, but they're great.
Oh, yeah.
And her solo is also great.
Yep. She's phenomenal. I mean, she's one of the great not breakouts because like the band was a breakout, but like of the people from that era of emo music, like her, Patrick Stump, Brandon Urie, like those are the big ones.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, not all of them have succeeded with album. Like it's funny that like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, and Paramore all released albums within like a year or so of each other, and the only one that was good was Paramore's.
That's not true. Like, are you thinking like Death of the Bachelor? Because I thought that album was.
No. I'm talking about Pray for the Wicked. Yep, see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, that's the one with High Hopes and My Made It. Like that's that one. No, I like Death of a Bachelor. I also love the title.
That one I didn't care for, actually, to be honest. Yeah.
So, like Pray for the Wicked, not a fan. The Fall Out Boy one with like whatever that song. I don't even.
Oh, I hated it.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to love Fall Out Boy. And
Yeah.
Dude, don't even get me started. I mean, we did a whole half an episode pretty much on Fall Out Boy, Olivia. So like, you know what I'm talking about. But my God, dude, Under the Cork Tree, Take This to Your Grave. Like,
I know, take us back.
You know, I love Folia Do, and I don't think they made a great record since Folia Do.
And they actually have dedicated their career as an homage to one of the great songs on Folia Do, which is I Don't Care, because they clearly don't anymore. But anyway.
Shame.
Patrick Stump's solo album is actually pretty good if you haven't listened.
I like that, yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay.
But that's a good pick, Olivia. I love it. I was kind of had a feeling where Steve was going to go. I have an idea where Gibbs is going to go. So I like that. I kind of had to read a little bit where you were going, and that surprised me a little bit. But it's a great album, so I can't fault you. My number one is one of those that'll come as no surprise, and it is the 1975's Notes on a Conditional Form.
Let's go.
Which has been my number one since the day it got released. And you could say it was an overreaction, but I've listened to it again and again and again and again and again and again, and it's still my favorite album of the year. Save Rock and Roll is debatably good, Mr. Ruthier. Debatable.
I think it's good.
Anyway, There's some good songs. No, I'm not talking about Save Rock and Roll. I'm talking about the one that is after Save Rock and Roll. The one with the painted face on it. What's that one called?
American Psycho.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. I like Save Rock and Roll. That's a good album.
Yeah.
Anyway, Notes on a Conditional Form. We've talked about it like 4 times already, so I don't know how much more I can say about it. But echoing what Gibbs said, If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know is one of the best songs I've maybe ever heard in my life. It is such an incredible song, dude. I love that song. I love pretty much anything they do as the 1975. But I'll shout out some songs that haven't been mentioned. One is The Birthday Party, which has a great video. Yes, thank you, Jake. That is a whole lot of man, that album. Thank you very much. But The Birthday Party has a great, really trippy video. The song itself is really good. It's got some country elements to it and like emo too. And Matty Healy kind of goes into a little bit on the spotlight on Spotify. But I just want to shout out what I think is the best deep cut on the album, which is Tonight, I Wish I Was Your Boy. I think that song is maybe one of their most underrated. It's got such a cool, like low-key groove to it. And just Matty Healy, like I know that the band is more than Matty Healy, obviously. Like their bass work is incredible. The drumming is awesome. Like everything comes together so great. But Matty Healy's voice just adds, it just takes it to another level with the 1975. And I still think maybe my favorite minute in pop music this year is the sax solo on If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. Like,
oh hell yeah,
sax solo rips, dude. It's the best sax solo since "Run Away with Me" by Carly Rae Jepsen.
It's awesome, yeah.
It's an
good sax solo.
Oh my god, I love it. I love the whole album. Like Steve mentioned, like Roadkill, very low, very kind of like song people forget about. Then Because She Goes, like Gibbs mentioned earlier, kind of has those shoegazing elements to it. And Me and You Together song, which Gibbs mentioned earlier, feels like something off of their debut album. Like that, it kind of has that kind of sound to it. And you were waiting for something more upbeat from them because people, like Steve said, like shouts at you. Frail State of Mind is, well, that really don't describe what that's about. And then you get Me and You Together songs. Like, all right, this is what I was expecting from them. Like, this is like that typical 1975 jangly, upbeat, very them pop song. And it kind of set off that trajectory. Like, all right, this is going to be a great album from them. So top to bottom, I mean, Notes on a Conditional Form is just such a fantastic album. And it is my favorite album. And in my opinion, the best album of this hellish, disgusting spin around the sun that is 20.
Right.
Gibbs, your number one album of the year.
So my number one album of the year is Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple. The thing I love about Fiona Apple is that she's only put out 5 records and they're all so different from one another.
She's been around for like 28 years.
And they're so also distinctly Fiona Apple. Only she could have made this record. I love the percussiveness of it. There's a lot of like weird percussion on this record. It's really dominated by her piano playing. She has a lot of really great lyrics in it. Like you said, Shamika and Heavy Balloon and Cosmonauts are all really great songs. It's just a really great record to listen to all the way through, or piecemeal as songs. Like it's not a record you have to listen. That if you don't have to listen to it all the way through, you can. If you want to listen to it just as singles, you can. It's just this really great classic record. And like the moment that I finished the record, I knew it was going to be my number one of this year. It's just really, really great. It deserves all of the acclaim it got. It is her best album, which is astounding considering how great the previous 4 were and how long she takes to, fine tune her music. And she always goes very low key on these releases, but I would have loved to have seen her do these songs live. I hope she tours. But yeah, my number one is Fiona Apple.
I can't say I'm surprised. Did you mention St. Cloud? Was St. Cloud in your top 10?
St. Cloud would have been in one of my honorable mentions. I really like that record too.
I was gonna say I feel like that was pretty high on your list for most of the year, but
it still is technically.
Yeah, true. But I'm not surprised that the Bolt Cutters are your number one. My number 2. If it wasn't for the 1975, if they kept delaying that album, it would have been my number 1. But thankfully, it did get released at some point in the spring. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier. Like, how do you you look at like The Thinker or some shit? Like, how do you describe that to somebody? Like, how do you describe like a work of art? Like, how do you do it? And I'm not on that level of thinking to do it.
The Thinker.
Like you look at something like that and you're like, well, I know that's fantastic, but how do I convey that to somebody else?
How do I convince you how great it is?
I'm like, either you're gonna get it or you don't. Like you're gonna get it or you don't. It's not like the Mona Lisa, which is like completely overrated. I've seen it in person. Don't even bother.
Might not have even been the real thing. Like,
Not even worth it.
how do we even know that's really the real Mona Lisa? We don't.
That's a good point. I like that, Vanessa. That's a good point. I don't think it's really like
Conspiracy.
honestly, it looks like it was painted on a piece of computer paper. Like that's. I saw it in person. Literally, like I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Pop Star. Never Stopping. The Lonely Island movie. Okay,
Oh,
I never saw it.
I've actually never seen it either. But there's a song called Mona Lisa, and it's about how the Mona Lisa is overrated, and it's like the most accurate song ever because it's very overrated. But that's all I have to say about the Mona Lisa. That's the Bolt Cutters carrot sign the Mona Lisa. And finally, Vanessa, your album of the year.
All right, so mine is Tame Impala's "The Slow Rush." I just think it was really fitting for this year. It starts with the song. I think it starts with "One More Hour" or "One More Year." That probably
One more year. There you go.
But that I don't know when I said it's my top album or whatever. But
I couldn't remember the time codes on Childish Gambino, so I'm not gonna.
Right, okay.
That.
Thank you. But yeah, it either starts with one or ends with the other. You get my drift, but it like has like that continuous theme, you know, which I appreciate. And a lot of the songs throughout it, like there's Breathe Deeper, Lost in Yesterday, all like good themes for this year. I really like the song like Is It True? Yeah, One More Year is probably my favorite one off the album. Is It True is like a good like kind of like boppy one to like you could dance to that. Might Be Time I think is like kind of funny and sarcastic, which I really like. So he's like, you're not as cool as you used to be. Like I just think that's hilarious. And yeah, I think that's basically like what my notes said on it. But
it's a good point too, because what album title might describe the year better than The Slow Rush?
Right, like it's so perfect with the timing of that album for that to be released.
And it came out, I think, before the
pandemic.
pandemic.
It did, and it like honestly, like I feel like it's like helped me get through this year. So yeah, I just figured like that's the only reason why I beat out Kid Cudi too. Is just that it was just too fitting for the.
I gotta pour one out for Tame Impala because they were in my top 10 early in the year, and then they just kept getting pushed down and down, down until they eventually got my top 20 altogether. It's unfortunate because it's a great album. It is
a good album, yeah.
But I will say the only thing about Tame Impala is that it sounds like if you were making up names like about bands Pitchfork would love, Tame Impala would be one of the ones you come up with.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like, oh, you know that band? Like, oh, I don't know, Tame Impala or something like that. Like that'd be one of the ones you come up with.
I am pretty sure I first heard of Tame Impala all the way back when through Pitchfork.
Yeah. It's like Tame Impala. It's like, I'm going to start a band called Erratic Gazelle and see if they like it. See if Pitchfork's into it. Probably not. But anyway, let's see if I can remember this all. Steve, your album of the year. Childish Gambino is March 15th, 2020. Maria, your album of the year. Haley Williams, Petals for Armor. My album of the year, 1975's Notes on a Conditional Form. Gibbs, your album of the year, is Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters. And Vanessa, your album of the year, is Tame Impala's The Slow Rush. So we are almost at 2 hours, and Jake Ruthier, I'm sure, is getting very tired from this. So thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, joining me, getting through this dystopian hellscape of a year with some good music. Vanessa, I'm not sure if you have anything to promote or if you have anything you want to get out there before you take off, but thank you for joining me and making I think, hold on, let me count up the guest numbers. You might be our Obama guest, Vanessa.
Oh, geez. This is actually my first podcast appearance ever, so this is a monumental moment for me.
Let me check the guest list here. I keep a running list of people on our show. Yes, Vanessa, I believe you are our 44th guest, which makes you the Obama guest. Congratulations.
That's great. I'll take it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Anyway, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. It was fun having you on. It was a great list. So thank you for coming on. And future music episodes, you're more than welcome back.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Gibbs, where can the people find you?
They can find me at theyoungfolks.com, where I am the music editor. I just finished tabulating our top 50 albums list, and there's a lot of records that we have talked about that are on that list. You can also find me. So I am currently taking an indefinite hiatus from Twitter. Beats me when I'm ever going to come back. I'm not really big into social media anymore. But if I ever do come back, I'm at Ryan Gibbs 89. I also write for the Jamestown Press in Jamestown, Rhode Island. If you're interested in finding out information or fun stories or arts or school stories about that town. And yeah, those are where you can find me on the interwebs.
Yep, it's a good thing you're taking a definite hiatus. I'd say Steve and I are the most online people here, and we have seen shit that'll make your face turn green. So, yeah, you
on Twitter.
Yeah, Steve and I live on Twitter, so
Yeah. You guys really do.
it's rotting my brain from the inside out. But congratulations on the hiatus, Gibbs. I am very proud of you. I checked your Twitter account today because I tagged you in something, and I was like, man, he hasn't tweeted since like December 4th. This lucky bastard.
I have not been regularly on Twitter since before Halloween.
It's a good thing I texted you about this because you would never have known it was happening.
Nope.
But thank you. Olivia, where can we find you?
Olivia Peralt on Twitter. Also haven't been on Twitter as much because I'm furloughed, but hopefully I'll be back at Ticket News in 2021 when concerts.
I always know what the reaction is going to be when I tweet at certain people. Like Steve's always going to be the first one to like it, and then a couple days later, Olivia will like it, and then today, right before we went on this podcast, Vanessa retweeted it and liked it. I was like, at some point they're going to find this tweet, so I'll throw it out in the ether. Somebody will find it. But Steve's always the first one. Then we have Jake Ruth here like it and stuff. But yeah, speaking of Steve Scott, thank you so much for joining us here today. Of course, always a heater when Steve Scott's on the episode.
Oh, thanks, man. Dude, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. You know, we've done a lot of podcasting this year. Jake and I, it's been an unbelievable year of podcasting content. I just want to say to you, Olivia Gibbs and my sister, awesome job tonight. That was a fantastic list you guys had there. Shout out Vanessa for her first ever podcast appearance right here. That's monumental, pretty cool.
Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause.
She wouldn't even come on my podcast yet, you know. So
wow, we got first big takes. Look at that. That is. I'm gonna put that as a note next to Vanessa's guest appearance on my list here.
Seriously,
shows us over small state big takes.
I want to give also
probably because she hates Dave. I'll put that on the list.
Yes,
Dave.
Avoiding Dave.
Want to come on with him?
Just colossal shout out. A colossal
Steve,
multiverse.
We've done our fair share of podcasting both together and on our respective other shows, and it's been a fun year for some aspects of staying at home. The staying at home part has kind of sucked because I would love to be out and have a drink with some of these very fine people I've met over the past year. And someday, Steve, we'll ball up again, and then we'll grab a drink down in South County at some point.
It's crazy. You know, Jake and I have only met in person twice. That's insane. But, you know, that's the power of the internet, too. You know, we've you know, of all things, we've been able to do some serious podcasting, and I feel like I know you very well.
We've only met in person twice, but we've murdered each other countless times.
It's true.
Shout out Among Us. Big fans. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for listening, watching, all that fun stuff. Got to clear my throat because I've been talking for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Jake Ruth here.
Shout out Jake Ruth here.
Mega.
That's usually a small state big takes thing, but we are happy to shout him out on this podcast. Shout out Jake. Great name from what I've heard. Fantastic name. You can find me at Jacob_Morocco on Twitter. This podcast is at CSL Podcast on Twitter. You can check out our work at cslpodcast.com. Dave writes a lot about streaming stuff. I write a lot about, sometimes about music. I did my top 10 hits of the year the other day, so go check that out. That was a fun time. I'm going to write up this list of mine at some point and get it out there. Hopefully it won't be 10,000 words long, as most things I write become, but we'll see about that. So until then, thank you all for listening, and hopefully the albums are just as good in 2021.
Yep.
Hell yes.
Let me end the broadcast. You can all be on your separate ways.